Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Mike and Ed's Barbecue. It is the final Glenwood Coaches Show for the football season. I'm here with head football coach Ryan Nelson. Coach, not the way you wanted to end the season, but 9-1, a tough loss to Alabama Christian Academy, 46-42. But it was a success being the first year in the AHSAA. Beat a lot of great teams, including Elba, had one of the top running backs in the state. But let's talk about the game against Alabama Christian Academy. I mean, it was just a back-and-forth game, and Alabama Christian was able to make the plays to advance, and they ended up pulling out the victory.
They did. So, Richard, well, good to have you back to the show.
I'm glad to be back.
I hadn't seen you.
It's been a while.
It's been about a month and a half. So, and then I want to say special thanks before we get going to Mike and his barbecue and Chase. For hosting us all year long down here. Always great barbecue, always great hospitality. So, again, thank you so much for hosting our coach show another year. And get back to the game, like you said. It just, a lot of things didn't go our way. Couple calls, couple plays that wasn't made. And got to give Alabama Christian a lot of credit. We went up 35-14 the second quarter on them, and they just kept on battling and they kept on finding ways to make plays. And, what a tough loss for us, though. But what a great year. So we had our opportunities, and, we even had the ball late down there with like 2 minutes to go in the game, had the opportunity to go down and score and win the ball game. It just, like I told the kids after the game, it just wasn't in the cards that night for us. And, I really can't explain a whole lot of it. You can look back and pinpoint this play. It's probably about 15 different plays you can pinpoint. If one of them go our way, we'll probably win. But again, give them credit, but you can't take away what kind of season we have from our kids, from our program, from our school, to have an undefeated regular season, to win the region championship the first year in it. And like you said, to beat some of the teams that we beat where a lot of people didn't give us pretty much a chance to go 500 this year. So a great season. I look at the positive things. I think, we had a lot of fun. And, it's playoff football. When you have a bad quarter, you have a bad drive, you have some bad things not go your way. It tends as the outcome don't go your way also. So,
well, Coach, I do want to bring it back to the preseason because I'm a big poll guy. I actually read the Alabama Sports Writers Association polls. They didn't have you or Lee Scott with any votes in the preseason poll for 3A. Which, Lee Scott had a successful year, and they were undefeated until they had some tough games against Beulah and Randolph County. Actually, they did beat Beulah, but, they lost to Wadley. But I thought that your season really set the tone when you beat Valley. And this was a game, I was on the call with Mike Peacock, down 20-0. Valley took the kickoff for a touchdown, the first play of the game. Yeah. What was going through your mind playing this 5A school, your first game in the AHSAA, and Valley quickly is up 7-0, and eventually they went up 20-0.
Yeah, well, it was so early in the season and early in the game. When you go down like that, you really don't tend to overthink it. But I knew what kind of team we had. I knew we'd keep fighting and keep battling. And when we went down 20-0, I think the biggest thing was we just got to figure out how to calm everybody down and just, like I said, this back probably 2 months ago, was just play football. And because a lot of emotions going into that ball game. Especially playing in your first public school game, they're playing a 5A, a lot bigger school than us and things like that. So there were a lot of emotions early, but fortunate for us, we were able to continue just to keep grinding and keep playing ball. And we hit the big pass there at the end to take the lead, and we had several big time stops defensively in that ball game. But you're right, that kind of just got kickstarted our season for us. And then you go to the second ball game where we had to go play Mr. Everything in the state of Alabama, and Alvin Henderson, and we're the only team in the state to hold him under 200 yards this whole year. And, right there at the half, I think we held him to like 50 yards rushing. So he did pop some out in the second half on us, and, great players are going to do that kind of thing. But what another great big, win for our program. And that kind of just jump-started everything for us. That put us in the top 10. We continued to climb up, and we got as high as 7 all year. And then the next week we started our region play, and it was just, I was talking to somebody last week. I don't even really think we had a region game within 2 touchdowns.
Incredible.
And, for sure, being the first time. So, again, I can't credit our kids enough, our coaching staff enough. What a great season. Not the way we want to end it, like you said, but, it's playoffs. And I've been fortunate enough to win a state championship and them things don't grow on trees in public schools, and it's very difficult. And when you sit there and you have 5 rounds, and at any point in time, if you're not ready to play or if you don't play your best game, you can get beat, and that kind of is what happened to us. 2 Fridays ago. It just like I said, we had a bad fourth quarter. We turned the ball over. They ended up beating us 21-7 in the fourth quarter, and it wasn't in the cards. But again, I can't credit our senior group enough. I can't credit our kids enough. I can't credit our school, our administration for all the support. And just being a first year, being 9-1, and having an undefeated regular season, I consider it very successful. And it's a foundation that our seniors laid for hopefully it's going to continue to be a lot of success moving forward.
Coach, I do want to feature several players that really stood out. We'll start on the offensive side of the ball. Levi Pender, a quarterback that took over for Dallas Crow. He just looked poised. He had just time to throw the football. Just talk about just the growth and the development of Levi Pender stepping into the starting role this year.
Yeah, I think he did a phenomenal job for us. He ended up throwing for, right at 2,200 yards with 21 touchdowns, another 6 touchdowns rushing. And he had 6 interceptions with 3 coming in the last game. So up to that game, he only had 3 interceptions on the year. But I can't say enough about his leadership and just who he is as a player. He is a cool, calm, collective player out there. Not a whole lot phases him in a quarterback position. That's what you need to have. Never scared of the moment. And I just thought he did a phenomenal job just being a point guard out there as our quarterback, just delivering the ball to all our playmakers on the perimeter and things like that. Did a phenomenal job managing and controlling the offense and made a lot of plays back there, a lot of throws. But Levi, I think his biggest strength was throwing the deep ball and his accuracy. So I can't say enough about him and him just coming in his senior year and being able to orchestrate and lead an offense that we average right at 44 points a game. So did a phenomenal job.
Yeah, one thing that Levi Pender did have, he had weapons. Not only players that return like a Mason McCray and a Cal Lawrence, but the new additions on the team, like a Mekhi Simpson, a Jermaine Brown, Cam Cooper.
Yep.
Just talk a little bit about the players that were new to the team this year and how they contributed to the offense.
Yeah, I mean, and I'll start, our backfield with our 1-2 punch with Jermaine Brown and Mekhi Simpson. Both of those guys came in and had a great season. Jermaine had right at over 1,400 yards rushing, 17 touchdowns. Kai had over 500 yards rushing and right at 14 touchdowns. So they were kind of our 1-2 punch. Kai battled some injuries early in the year to kind of limit his carries and things like that. But about the middle of the year, he was able to get healthy and get going. And both those guys did a phenomenal job with it being the first year in the offense. And I can't speak enough about just their playmaking ability. And they were able just to just make a lot of plays on the ground for us and control a lot of ball games with us. Just being able to hand them the ball. And then you talk about on the perimeter. You talked about Mason. Had a phenomenal career at Glenwood in football. Had a phenomenal senior year. I think he had 8 touchdowns, right at 800 yards receiving off like 33 catches, I think. Cal Lawrence, another one that had a great year. Over 30 catches, over 700 yards and 7 touchdowns, and then. Especially in the last ball game, which he made plays all year, but Cam Cooper was just one of that solid rock for us who was able to block a lot on the perimeter and do great things, but he made a lot of plays also. So, he was kind of that two-way player for us who really never came off the field, but, man, that kid played phenomenal, that last football game against Alabama Christian and had right at 200 and I think 15 yards receiving and 2 touchdowns, made some unbelievable catches out there. So, he laid it on the line for us, and I can't credit that kid enough for everything he's done coming in our program. Not only him, but JB and Kyle also offensively, and just them guys, the leadership they've shown, and the type of year we had, and it was a great year, and that's what it's so tough as a coach is you do all these great things, but it's like a lot of people don't want to do anything but talk about and remember the loss. Well, yeah, we played a bad quarter, and it does. It's frustrating at times, but you move on, and like I said, I'm gonna look at the positive things we did all year and the positive things these kids did for our school and our program.
And also, your defense stepped up. Some of the key players on defense, Emory Davis. Just talk about some of the other players on defense that really helped out.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt, Richard. You start with Emory Davis. He had over 100 tackles for us. I think over 30 tackles for loss, 12 sacks, right? Something like that. Yeah, incredible senior year. He was very tough to block every single week. So, very, very good senior season for him. And I think, the next guy I look at in the secondary, Tanner Pickering. He was right there at third in state in our classification with 5 interceptions. Was kind of a ball hawk right there. Made a lot of big-time plays for us. Jace McMillan also, who plays corner over there, did another phenomenal job, as well as some other guys we had like Cam Cooper and Josiah Clark, playing linebacker, Makai Simpson playing linebacker. So, we did a lot of great things defensively also. Asher Long played really good as a sophomore for us at safety. So, I think that's the biggest thing in that last ball game is just we did some uncharacteristic things defensively that we hadn't done really all year. And we missed a lot of tackles. And I can't go back and tell you how many tackles we missed, but it was a lot. We missed a lot of open field tackles in that ball game. And they had a little slippery little running back that was really fast, and we had really, really trouble getting him to the ground that night.
Well, one thing about Glenwood football, you've made the transition to the AHSAA, and it's been a successful season, Coach. I mean, going 9-1, you really know what the standards are playing football in 3A. There was a lot of question marks going into the season. How would an AISA team make that transition to the AHSAA? And personally, I think that you and Lee Scott Academy did just fine. But just talk about that transition going from the AISA to the AHSAA, and what's in the future for Glenwood football as far as could we see some more teams locally that we could possibly see on the schedule?
Yeah, I mean, you start talking about the transition, from the private school to the public school league. I think it was a big deal for a lot of people around here. And I think there was a lot of naysayers. And I think there was a lot of people that told, me and a lot of our administration that we were crazy, we could never compete and things like that. But, I think that's what drives us at Glenwood. We're kind of that blue collar, hard-working mentality over there. And, we put the work in the off season. We put the work in the summer. And then, kind of when August got here, we just want to go prove ourselves. So it's one of them things where, football is football. And, obviously – when you play in certain leagues against different competition, but you still play against good teams in that league. And same thing when we went to 3A this year, we still played against some good teams and good competition. So, but I really believe in, what we do as a staff. I really believe in myself as a coach, and I really believe in our kids. And, so the thing about it is, I tell everybody, I've been in the 7A, I've been in the 7A in Georgia, I've been in the 5A in Georgia. Now I've been in, the private school in Alabama. Now I've been in 3A. They're good coaches all over, and football is football, and you watch it on Sunday and you watch it on Saturday, you see it on Friday nights. It's still 11 on 11. I mean, it ain't like you making up some kind of new scheme or something like that at any level. So, but I pride our program a lot, just the hard work that we put in, and we had a lot to prove this year, and I felt like every week it was something new or somebody we couldn't compete with or something like that, and we just went out. And we proved it week after week. And, again, to win the region championship and have an undefeated regular season in your first year, it makes pretty much a bold statement. And so that's what we wanted to do, and we did. Just unfortunately, in that one ball game, it just didn't end how we wanted it to end.
You were watching the Glenwood Gators Coaches Show live from Mike and Ed's Barbecue, as this is the official wrap-up show of the school year for the football season. Coach, it means it's going back to the drawing board, getting ready for the upcoming 2025 season. When will practices start for that? Will we have like a spring game? And also, just to think, when can the schedule drop? Because I know that personally, myself, I would love to see who you got on the schedule. Have you considered possibly a Georgia team? Like, who can you schedule for next year? Anybody local, like a Smith Station or Russell County? But what's like going through like the process of coming up with the schedule?
Well, to kind of pump the brakes a little bit.
Oh, of course.
We will have the exact same schedule we did this past year. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Because we're on a 2-year agreement.
That's right.
In our region with our schedule and all this year. So next year will be year 2.
So next year you'll go to Valley.
Next year we'll open up at Valley, and everything will just kind of be flipped.
So everything's going to be flipped.
Everything will be flipped. And after next year, you can kind of go back and reevaluate. As long as you're in the same region, those games will be locked, and then you'll have 4 non-region ball games where you can kind of schedule who you would like to schedule. But definitely not opposed to playing some local teams around here. But people got to also understand, we're a 3A team, we're not a 7A team.
Exactly.
And so, sometimes you can kind of bite off more than you can chew and things like that. But here's the thing: I tell our kids, we'll play anybody anywhere.
Yeah.
And so however the schedule picks up, and we're able to figure that thing out. In 2 years, we'll kind of decide that. But yeah, you could possibly see some more Columbus teams, local teams, things like that. But with us playing Valley, to me, that's going to turn into a decent rivalry right there. So we're looking forward to going back over there.
Oh, no question.
But the schedule, that's a long time away. So that'll be something, we kind of sit down this time next year and, we'll revamp and decide what we want to do. But I always love to play in big-time games and big-time environments and put our kids in front of crowds and get them the opportunity to play in front of great programs so they can get recruited and things like that. So, but just getting going, kind of on the off season. We're kind of finished right now. We'll kind of just back up from football until we get back from Christmas break.
Yeah.
And, which everybody in the building needs time off because we work hard and we work a lot of hours from a coaching standpoint from our players. So we'll kind of back away. And then once we get back from Christmas break come January, we'll start up our all-season program. We have a lot of kids because we're such a small school that, they play basketball and they play baseball. So a lot of those kids we won't see again until the summer.
Right.
And, so all the kids that don't play multiple sports, we'll get back in there and we'll start training for all season program. And then, last year it was the first year in my coaching career that we didn't have a spring ball. So Alabama gives you opportunity. If you don't have a spring ball, you can start, your fall practice a week earlier. So just for our school, it best fits us. It ain't very beneficial to have a spring ball when you got, right there 20 players that play baseball.
Exactly.
They're in the middle of their season. So you're not going to ask those kids to come out and do spring football when they're in the middle of their season. So, that kind of hinders us a little bit with spring ball. So, but we'll definitely get back to work. We'll definitely get back in our all-season program and we'll start getting prepared for the 2025 season.
Absolutely. Well, my final question to you, Coach, is just talk about your assessment of the region. Obviously, Lee Scott Academy, a big-time rival. I think Beulah is going to start to be that local rival. I thought that game against Beulah was just fantastic. And to have your fans travel up, which is like maybe 30, 40 minutes up the road. Dadeville, they ended up making the playoffs. They actually knocked Lee Scott out of the playoffs. Randolph County is always tough. Yep. What was your assessment of this region and the talent? Forgot to mention B.B. Comer, Childersburg. I mean, we've got some talented teams in this region.
Very difficult week to week. And, especially like, with a team like Randolph, that running back they had, he was unreal. So then, like you said, you got them and Daville's a very athletic bunch. They got a young bunch that's coming back. So I would expect them to be really strong next year. Lee Scott's always going to be strong. They're so well coached. And, Coach Daniels does such a great job with them. So I'm sure they're going to bounce back from missing the playoffs this past year and have a good football team next year. And then kind of B.B. Comer the same way where they, were a team that was a semifinal team the year before. They got hit by the graduation bug. So I would definitely expect them to come back and have a strong team. And then, Beulah, like you said, they had a phenomenal quarterback, had a great offense this past year. So it is a very difficult region. And that's why, sometimes it's hard to go out of region and schedule all these tough non-conference games. Absolutely. Because, you can't be beat up for your region schedule. That's what matters for getting in the playoffs. But, we kind of know what to expect now going in. And so, we kind of got our feet wet with this first year. And then, but, for us, our process is not going to change a whole lot. It's as simple as it sounds. It's hard work, Richard. And, when we get back in January, I'm going to put these kids through a tough off season. And, you'll look up, it'll be April, May, and, we'll be getting back outside and doing a lot of more football activities and things like that. And, once the summer gets here, that's kind of when it really just starts back, for a place like Glenwood, because you start getting all your kids back out of the baseballs and the basketballs and things like that. So you start trying to build your team, and before you know it, it's August, and like I said, it's time for another season of rock and roll.
Well, Coach, I cannot wait for the 2025 season. Georgia Alabama Sports Live is going to be there in that first game at Rams Stadium against Valley. You know that we're going to make that trip to call that game. This has been just a successful Glenwood Gators Coaches Show, the final Coaches Show of the school year. I want to thank Chase Cook from Mike and Ed's Barbecue for allowing us to have this Coaches Show at such a great venue. I love their barbecue. The saying, you can smell their butts for miles. They located on Crawford Road here in Phoenix City. Thank you to Coach Ryan Nelson. And enjoy the time off, but I know it's going to be time to get back to work, and it probably in a couple months. But thanks again.
Richard,
I always appreciate you allowing me to host this show too. I want to thank Noah Shelton too.
Yes,
he did just a phenomenal job as the host for this show. And so that's it from Coach Coach Nelson, I'm Richard Holdridge saying so long from Mike and Ed's Barbecue. Thank you, and we will see you next year on the Glenwood Gators Coaches Show.